Marvel Studios is officially back in my mind. A red, red band trailer, R rated, F bombs galore, Deadpool and Wolverine official trailer is here. I am so excited about this movie. This trailer did so much for me. In a way, this was the Wolverine side of the Deadpool and Wolverine kind of trailer, if you want to kind of say it that way, because the Super Bowl trailer was very much so the Deadpool 3 trailer, where it's like, all right, Deadpool's back, he's joining the MCU. This trailer was Deadpool's here, we got that. Here's also the Wolverine. So we learn about this new Wolverine. He's from a different dimension, a different universe. Klein, what was your biggest takeaway from this new trailer?
I mean, for me, it's honestly this is the trailer that won me over for the movie. I don't want to say I was a skeptic coming into it, but I was not necessarily on the hype train as much as some other people may have been. I was a little
Yeah.
worried. We've been promised cameos the movie before, and I was worried we were gonna this would I don't want to invoke its name, but we were heading down a multiverse of madness path, and I was worried about that.
Yeah.
This trailer cemented it for me that it is going to be more than that. The biggest takeaway for me coming out of the trailer was that I think the thing that Deadpool has always needed on screen, at least, is this like straight man. Like
Yeah.
Wolverine is going to this isn't a silly Wolverine. This isn't a funny Wolverine. He is just in a funny movie with a incredibly hilarious main character, and just the two of them playing off each other is so good. I think like the moment for me is when they're in the bar right at the beginning, and Deadpool has the gun pointed at him, and he says, "Unless you want to be breathing through your fucking forehead, like
Yeah.
I'd reconsider." And he just leans onto the gun, and it's just like, oh, like this is a
Leans and
I
smiles. Yeah.
yeah, like this is a I am done Wolverine. I am over it. I have like it's almost like a Wolverine that we saw in Logan a little bit, like this kind of like fed up, I've had too much of this shit Wolverine, and he's getting roped back into the superhero antics of it all.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? So I agree. I love how it's this alternate universe Wolverine. It's going to be a new, I mean, it's Hugh Jackman, but
Do you
in this,
love that?
I do.
Because that I'm a little trepidatious about that. I wanted this to be Wolverine. Like I wanted this to be the Fox universe Wolverine.
Well, I think the Fox Universe Wolverine, we had its arc with Logan, and I think not touching Logan really helps me. Like if it was before, if this was like, him pulled out before Logan, I guess you could have like worked around that. I like this idea because one of the most exciting parts to me of this trailer is now getting to know this new Wolverine's backstory. And look, it's in this situation, it's like we already know Hugh Jackman's take on Wolverine, and it's going to be very similar to that. We're already so familiar. I think it's perfectly fine if we just give this guy a new background. I mean, his suit's totally different, right? Like he has the actual X-Men comic book superhero suit. So I'm totally in. Like I actually, like I said, I am now so invested into what this, because emotionally, I think it would be hard to really get much impact from the Logan Wolverine than we could with this new backstory, like we saw for a second. Which I love that line, by the way, when Wade Wilson's like, or should we wait until the third act to learn about your fucking like sob story or whatever? And
The third
it's
act flashback.
yeah, third act flashback. Which I can't wait to see that part because I could see Sean Levy, like the director here, being like, let's use a moment of levity of Deadpool saying that, and then actually cut to it, and it is this like with that scene that we saw where it seems like he's I don't know what happens, but he's just devastated, and the whole bit of this story of this trailer is that he is a Wolverine that let his world down. He let his world die, essentially, but not actually. What it reminded me of, and I love what you said earlier, how it kind of was like the Wolverine that we saw at the beginning of Logan. It's like that to me with a mix of 5 years ago or 5 years past Chris Evans, Captain America,
Yeah,
where we're
yeah.
in Avengers Endgame. The blip happens because it seems honestly like we that universe they're in at the very beginning of Wolverine at the bar and him being like, "You're not welcome here." That feels very post blip era universe. Now, it may not be a blip, it may not be that exact event, but it feels that same way. Where like the heroes let everyone down, the earth is ruined, some major cataclysmic thing happened where the X-Men or the Avengers didn't stop it. So that gets me very excited because now we get to dive into a new universe. It may be just his perspective on it, but they're going to throw us something, some crazy event, like similar to, and I think honestly that is a very good talking point, but also like worry is Multiverse of Madness, where in Multiverse of Madness we get to see Earth 838, and we learn all about this Illuminati team and how they were able to defeat Thanos, but obviously they had to then kill Doctor Strange because he was, taking them down this dark path. I think they could do something similar with this movie, but do it in a better way, in a more impactful way. Because what's happening here is that we're pulling out this Wolverine, this version of Wolverine, and he's already let his Earth down, and it seems to be like this is a revenge tour, or maybe he can now save his Earth. Like I'm so fascinated. This
Or
trailer
he
in
can do
general.
for Wade what he couldn't do for himself. Is
Yeah.
kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Like they did a great job of grounding this multiversal story in this trailer, where the first trailer it's kind of like, oh, Deadpool, the TVA shows up, what's going on? And now it's like, oh, I understand why he would want to find Wolverine, why he would want, if he knows his world is going to end,
Yeah.
who is he going to call? He's going to call, as he says, the X-Man. Like he's going to go to the person
Yeah.
and find one. And this is obviously one who couldn't do what he wanted to do. And so this can be a chance of redemption for that character. And like that's the character arc we're going to get for this Wolverine. And then hopefully they can save Deadpool's crew and family and his world, because it seems
Right.
like something is coming for that.
Well, that seems like to me, with the whole 20th Century Fox thing in the background, it seems like that's just the Fox universe is dying or something like that. I think that is going to be like sillily explained by the TVA that universe is basically dying, and what it makes me think of too, it's like it hopefully they can really land the plane with this whole multiverse saga. But if they can, I think there is a blueprint that we're starting to see where it's like, okay, we have the sacred timeline, we have the MCU where that's kind of intact right now, and we're heading to Secret Wars eventually. But the Fox universe is dying. This other universe, what the hell it could be. I mean, imagine this. The one thought I had, I don't think it's going to happen. There's a season 2, all this. Imagine X-Men 97 goes totally sideways to end the season. And this is just the Wolverine. This is just him from that universe where it's like, yep, everyone died in that universe, and here's this Wolverine we get in Deadpool 3. I don't think it's going to be the case, but it could be something similar to that, where this Wolverine, his Earth died. There's a bigger problem out there, right? There is a bigger issue. It's bigger than you and me. Let's go take care of it. You take that. So those two universes are dying. Maybe some other universes are dying. Incursions, whatever your explanation is. And then next year, Fantastic Four, right? They're going to be in an alternate reality. How do they get brought into the MCU? Their world's dying. Maybe that really starts to be, the and then right after Venom 3, that universe just dies and no one ever thinks of it ever again. That'd be awesome.
We
Um,
let that one die.
we just like imagine that joke. That'd be so funny. Oh, they'd never be able to do it, but that would be so funny. Like Deadpool being like, "Ah, we just let that one die. Don't worry about that one." You see like the TVA screens, like Morbius and
What
Venom
about this
Dead.
one, Wade? Oh, that's okay.
Oh, that'd be so good. But yeah, I mean, one other thing I want to talk about, ask your opinion, which I just wrote an article for the direct.com. It's posted now about Cassandra Nova, the main villain of this film, which I love. We don't know anything, honestly. Like we know from the comic books who she is and what she can do, her connection to Professor X, similar powers, telekinesis, can control minds, the whole shebang. How do you think her role is going to be in this movie? What are your expectations, and are you worried about her at all?
I'm not worried. Worried as in I'm scared of her. I think that she's going to be a great antagonist. I don't really know how she's going to like play into this whole multiversal story. The way the vibe that I get from the trailer is that she's not pulling the strings on all this multiverse shit. I think that she and a group of all these Fox mutants and Fox
Yeah,
characters
seen a
are
couple in that
stuck in the
one shot.
void.
Yeah.
and she's kind of leading this group or whatever. And when Deadpool and Wolverine at some point show up there with a plan to, with an idea to save people who could be pruned or could be cut away from the timeline and end up in the void as well, she gets wind of that and is like, well, can we use that to our benefit? And like, and if they're going to enter a universe from here, how can we get in on that? And obviously things will go awry. I think she looks crazy and scary. I'm
Looks
forgetting the
scary.
actress's name.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
Anna
It's
Corin.
yeah, Emma Corrin. That's it.
And she looks terrifying. And I keep forgetting that she's in the movie, and then they showed it in the trailer, and I'm like, oh man, like she looks very intimidating. I love her playing around with Wolverine and like slamming him down on the ground with his
Yeah,
adamantium bones and stuff.
forcing
But
his claws in. It reminded me of Magneto, doing
yeah,
these X-Men rewatch movies. It's like, yeah,
what
that's
I
like
hope she is I hope she is just straight up because she does have like close ties to Professor X in the comics and stuff like that. I
mm,
hope she is just straight up a Professor X variant. Like I think that would be really cool,
mm,
a really
yeah.
cool way to like not introduce Professor X into the MCU, because we've gotten like a taste of it when he showed up in Multiverse of Madness, but it'd be very cool to show another multiversal like twist on a classic Marvel character without bringing Professor X proper into the MCU quite yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like Loki to Sylvie, that kind of a
Yeah,
variant style. And that's very, I mean, this is the most connected movie that we've gotten to Loki above Multiverse of Madness because we are in the void. This is a setting of the
the
MCU.
TVA is just straight up there. Like
The TVA
we're,
is
we're
present.
in it.
I mean, I expect characters from Loki to be in this movie. Like, I don't know how they aren't, how that doesn't work, like,
I think the best you're gonna get is you may get a Miss Minutes thing, but I doubt we get any of the like TV. There's been rumors of Owen Wilson. We
but
haven't seen
Mobius is
any of that
out,
yet.
Isn't Mobius like done? Even though TVA, the time works differently there.
Yeah, we don't know where and when this happens, right?
There is no
So
when really, because
exactly.
like that's the thing me and Matt talked about a while ago after Loki season 2, where it's like, wait a second, with them now shifting their gear at the end of season 2 to this, by the way, the God of stories, Loki at the end of time, holding it all together, still being a multiverse being held together, and them now chasing after Kang variants. Like that's all you really need to know. Like excuse me, the TVA. What the TVA was before is almost irrelevant. This is the new TVA. This is their new goal and their new system, and they are running fine, working operationally, and this is just what they're up to. And you can see how that could possibly come in together with Deadpool. That's how they come knocking at the door. Something's going on. They need him. And they're recruiting. I think that's kind of one thing that's kind of sneaking through. They are recruiting. This is a recruitment thing. They are getting Deadpool. Deadpool gets Wolverine. And I think this Wolverine is going to be, even though he let down his world, he is a fearsome Wolverine. Like he is not a Logan-esque version where he's kind of battered and bruised. Like, yeah, he has the whiskey dick claws for a second, but I think once he's ready to roll, he's gonna be unbelievable to stop. And we're gonna get some amazing, amazing fight scenes. Before we move on to our next Red Brand news bit, one last question, because this is a very, very big trailer and everyone's gonna be curious. We get a portal. The damn portals are back. We can't escape the portals. They are used for every hype moment in the MCU, it turns out. Even Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire. I pointed out on Twitter, if you notice in the trailer, when the shot switches to them jumping into the portal, it's this white like glow. You don't see what's on the other side of the circle. So 2 questions. If you have any idea, who's the one that who creates the portal? Is Doctor Strange in this movie? And where do you think they're going? Because it seems like they're in the void, I think, right? Just based on context clues. And they're jumping to somewhere else.
Okay, as for first question, who is making the portal? That's a
Ned,
that is
right?
a that is a great question. Yeah, it's Ned. It's got to be Ned. The guy in the chair. He's just there. What are you doing? Watching porn? Um, uh, oh man, I think it would probably. I don't know if Benedict Cumberbatch is in this movie. I think it'd probably be Wong if it's going
Yeah.
to be like a Sorcerer Supreme. I would love if there is a like Doctor Strange variant hanging out in the void. I think that could be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe it's Charlize Theron. Um, and where is it going? I think that this is going to be, I think everything we've seen so far from the trailers is in the first act, is very
Yeah.
early on. And
Yeah.
I think that we're going to get what people wanted in Multiverse of Madness. I think here, where we're going to start jumping from universe to universe, except these universes are going to be movies. And so, like, them jumping through that portal is going to be them jumping into X-Men: The Last Stand, or
Right.
them jumping into Ben Affleck's Daredevil, or them jumping
Right.
into an MCU film. Like, I
Yeah.
I think that the only
Age of
hint of the
Ultron.
universes, yeah, that's the only hint of universe we've gotten, is it's like that could be where they go, which could be really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and so I hope that, I'd like to think that it is them jumping into, yeah, some other movie. I think when we see the film, that white won't be white.
Yep. Exactly.
You will
No
see
way.
what it is, or it'll be white and it'll flash to white as they jump through, and that'll be the first like teleportation moment of the movie, and they open up and it's all dark and Ben Affleck is standing there and Jennifer Garner's there as Elektra, and it's like, what's going on, and everyone's
Yeah.
freaking out.
Dude, this movie is gonna be so hype. Like, there's no way. And you nailed on the head. Like, I'm with you. I think they've only shown bits from the first half of the movie at least. I mean, maybe like little shots where you completely out of context, you wouldn't know if that's in the third act. Like, that happens sometimes. And I really hope, I mean, we're gonna discuss it on this podcast, but I really hope we don't get much more from this movie. Like, this is all anyone needs. I don't really want to know. Like, I don't need a Deadpool trailer, then a Wolverine, and then a Cassandra. I don't need like to see her side of the story yet. I would rather just wait, because as of right now, if you just told people this is a Deadpool versus Wolverine movie, we'd be all in. And it kind of looks that way. It's kind of like what they're trying to market it as. Obviously, it's going to last like one or two scenes, and then we'll kind of move forward. But oh my gosh, I just had an idea. What are the odds that holy shit? What are the odds that when they're fighting in the void, he's mind controlled by Cassandra at that time, Wolverine? Because remember at the end of the first trailer, when he talks to him and he's like knocked down on his back and he's like, "Hey, like what's going on?" Like, because you'd think, if you think about it logically, you think he's convincing him when he goes to recruit him. Why would they all of a sudden be fighting in the void? Just a thought.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I mean, she's a mind controlling character. Like,
Exactly. And like
she's
that's
the
it.
telepath,
And
so
that's
she
the thing.
could.
Like, can't understate, and we're gonna move on in a second, I promise. Can't understate like how powerful Professor X is in these movies and just in Marvel comics. And like if she has those same powers, it's really hard to, unless you have Magneto's metal cap, it's pretty hard to withstand.